Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about some tips mostly to balance collecting and enjoying collecting with mindful consumerism. That being said, a kind of underlying premise behind this video is that overconsumption is harmful. Um, I'm not going to get deep into what is harmful about it in this video, as I'm mostly just going to be talking about how to escape that loop, but it's kind of that idea that it's harmful environmentally, society, but also for yourself. But with that out of the way, I'm going to get into some ideas that I had as to how to balance your collecting with being a mindful consumer. And if you have any other ideas outside of the ones mentioned, please recommend them in the comments below. I'd really appreciate that. I've been thinking a lot about this kind of idea. Um, as I've especially in the last year getting back into American Girl, and then in the last few months getting into um, making content, it's important to me to be responsible as a consumer, but I don't think that means that we can't enjoy the things that we enjoy. So, these are just some ideas I've had around in my mind, but please feel free to add to them. I would deeply appreciate it. I love, continuing the conversation. Um, so with that out of the way, I'm going to get into some of my thoughts. My first point is to avoid impulse buying, even if it's a good deal. This is kind of umbrella type of advice. Like a lot of the following points are going to fall under this one or contribute in how to achieve this one. I just think impulsive buying, getting in the habit of it, leads to shopping addiction. It leads to, I think, not enjoying the things that you have. And it's also more often than not, it's not financially sustainable. And a lot of the times, I think getting in the pattern of impulse buying can lead you to, even if something seems like a good deal, um, it is actually not that great of a deal, and you just it seemed like it because it showed that it was on sale, or you haven't maybe if you're impulse buying a lot of the times, it means you're also not doing the research about the worth of the things that you're buying and so forth. So that's just the first point, pretty broad, but I also think essential. So my next point of advice or I don't know, comment, suggestion, whatever, um, is that not buying something is always cheaper than even a great deal. I think that deals and sales are a great way to get the things that you want at an affordable price, but if you're buying something you don't really want, then you're just adding to the volume of your collection without much care. For example, that on the American Girl page, there is um the sale page which has like um the last chance outlet, and they pretty often do have a sale going on as well. Um, but just because something is on the in the last chance, you know, page of the website, it doesn't mean that it's worth it to buy. For example, even if they have a pair of shoes that are on sale for um $8, okay, it might be a good sale, except um if it's something that I didn't want, then it shouldn't become something that I do want just because of the price. Um You could also extend this to say, like, don't buy something if you don't have a plan for it. As I know some people are involved in restorations and customizations. Um, and so you could extend it to don't buy something even if it's on sale if you don't have a plan for it or want it for yourself. Um, as I was thinking about this point and thinking specifically about buying something on sale and reselling it or finding something at a really good price point or a great deal and reselling it, I also was thinking about um kind of how that also relates to scalpers, which I'm also interested in talking about. I'm interested in making a video about the um ethics, I guess, of that kind of behavior of buying something really cheap just to turn around and flip it because you know that it's worth more than it was being sold for. I don't want to get deep into that because it's not the purpose of this video, but let me know what you think because I would be interested in doing a philosophical exploration um, of that topic and um, specifically thinking about like the ethics around it. So let me know what you think on that, but most likely I will make a video of that type in the future. Next up I have make a wish list of the things that you want. This one might seem like counterintuitive, like are you just obsessing about getting more things? But I actually think for me, especially, it really helps to do the opposite. And part of that is because there is such a large catalog of items within American Girl. Um, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in like there's always another thing to be had. But I think making a wish list, and like you can see in mine that I am showing on the screen, I just put like images of things that I'd like to have, and that helps me not feel like, oh, I have to have everything right now, or when I see something, oh, I have to get it. It helps me to um be more like laid back, I think. And when a deal comes along or I see something on the secondhand market that is hard to find, um, if it is on my wish list, then that gives me kind of an indicator that um, I it is actually something that I wanted, and it might be because I guess I'm not trying to say with all of this, obviously, oh, like you can never buy something, never that you want or anything, I guess, of that nature. Um, I think it's okay to buy things that you want, of course, and I think that having a wish list for me is a great way to keep those in check. And also, when I see a deal on something, like, is that something that I actually do want? And if it is, that's great. And if it's not, then I can consider what I try to do is then I add that to my wish list and then I kind of keep an eye from there. It also gives me time. Um, Over time, there are things on my wish list that I remove because I realize, you know what, I don't actually need that. Or some things, like I have some of the birthstone outfits on my wish list, but I'm not really planning to get them just because as far as price point, I'm not planning to spend that kind of money anytime soon, but it kind of helps me to be like, okay, you know what? I've made a place for it. There it is. If a like really good deal comes along or something like that, then I can get it. But then I don't have to feel pressured or overwhelmed of like this huge catalog of things um, to have. And I really enjoy making this visual wish list. I think it's some kind of expression of creativity for me. Um, and I also think that it uh how do I want to say this? I think that it is just I guess I'm a somewhat of a visual person, so I enjoy that. I use just like the Apple Freeform app, 'cause it lets me put in images and it expands like as far as I know indefinitely. I at least haven't reached a limit on it. Um, but you can use any kind of um like application to do this that works for you. You can even make a physical copy with like catalog cutouts and so forth. Also, totally like separate to the point of this video, but just kind of a funny thing. If you notice on my wish list under contemporary clothes, I have some of the 90s twins outfits and I also have um Courtney's like some of Courtney's pajamas, even though they're under contemporary. And I think it's because for me, I like just mentally how I separate that. Because I, if I do get those clothes, or I guess like when I get them or whatever, they definitely will be like going on my contemporary characters, which is like most of my dolls. So I just thought that was funny and I wanted to mention it. My next point is to have an idea of what your collection will look like. That doesn't mean you have to have an exact like vision in your mind. Um, you you don't have to be limited to say necessarily like one line of dolls. Like it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm only gonna collect Girl of the Year or I only collect like this like Samantha and Nellie like time period. Doesn't have to be like that, but I think just having a general idea, even of like for example, one of my ideas for what my collection will look like is that I think I'm more interested in accessories, play sets, and having kind of like a whole scene in a picture than just having more dolls. So like one idea of what my collection will look like is each of my dolls has their own clothes, like obviously their me outfit, but I want them to each have a like fleshed out story, but also like to have like their own pajamas and so forth. Not that like I can't play or like dress them outside of that, but just like it kind of helps me because that's my vision of what my collection will look like. So if I start to find myself like, oh, like here's this new doll, like I remind myself that that doesn't match the vision that I have. So even though it in theory is nice, like, oh, I could get a new doll, I know that's not what I want the overall picture to be. And knowing what I want my big picture collection to look like helps me make individual decisions about getting to that point. Number five, according to my list, is to set limits for yourself. One way to do this is to have a budget. I think having a budget is a great limit to keep yourself from slipping into overconsumption. I think another a great kind of limit is to kind of know what you want to cap your collection at. So for me right now, I think that 10 is my limit. I have 7 dolls currently, and I'm somewhat anticipating getting an eighth one in the sense of like my sister's doll, she has kind of expressed to me that she um doesn't play with her anymore, and so a few times has said like, oh, she just wants to give me her doll. So I'm kind of holding off. I've told her, we've talked about it, and I've been like, well, you should at least wait until you're a bit older and you know whether you want to give your doll to your own kids or just save it as an heirloom or whatever. So, um, I have 7 dolls, and if you count my sister's doll, which I don't, but if you do count my sister's doll, kind of 8 dolls. So at least with my current limit, I kind of have place for two more dolls in my collection. Um, and I don't immediately know exactly who I want that to be, but I have some ideas of what, going with the last point, what my eventual collection, what I want it to look like. But I think having a limit, and you can have a higher limit than me. It doesn't need to be like 10, and I'm sure some people like think, "Oh, you know what? 2 is a great limit. Why does anyone need more than 2 American Girl dolls?" And so that's fine. And some people the limit might be much higher than mine, but I think having a limit that works for you and that is I think it should be okay for a limit to be restrictive to yourself. Like for me, I think having a limit of 10 might be restrictive, and I can't guarantee that there will never be a day when I like, oh, you know what, like maybe my limit is going to be 15 or whatever. But I think it's okay to have and even beneficial to have a limit, like for me, my limit being 10, where it's like I'm going to have to think critically about the dolls that I want to have in my collection because I don't have infinite space for them. I think if I for me set a limit like, "Oh, my limit's going to be 50 dolls," and I'm not even close to that, then I don't know that it serves the purpose. So I actually think this is kind of just my like thought I'm having right now. I actually think it's more beneficial to have a limit that you maybe adjust over time as so that it helps you remain mindful than to just set a really high limit so that you never have to worry about exceeding it, which I think a limit that you'll having a technical limit that you will likely never reach is as helpful, I think, as not having a limit. Like if oh, my limit is $200. Oh, like, okay, well, I don't even have like 10% of that right now. So it seems a little bit silly, artificial. So, anyways, I think setting limits for yourself, knowing, set a limit that is good for you based off of where you are at with your collection and everything in the moment, but having a limit and letting those kind of limits help you think critically about your collection, I think is a great thing to do. Next up, I have consume where it matters to you. I don't think that anybody could accuse me of being a minimalist, especially having, 7 dolls right now. However, I try to make sure that the things that I am collecting are meaningful and important to me. I recommend avoiding collecting something just because others are doing it, or because it's popular, or because it's new, etc. So I'd like to draw on this insight, this example that I had while I was getting engaged. Everybody watching who knows me in real life will have already heard this from me, so I apologize about that. But the short version of it is that I picked out my own engagement ring. That's what I wanted to do, and my husband was happy doing it that way. And because of that, I had the privilege of picking out exactly the ring I wanted. Um, I don't wear very much jewelry, kind of as a background, so I wanted a ring that was classic and elegant, but also fairly understated. I specifically did not want to have a big, chunky rock. I think that it just doesn't fit my style and it would be out of place for me. And I also think it potentially, depending on like the size of the ring, could get in the way of a lot of work that I do with my hands and whatever. Um, so I got this ring that has, uh, to me, maybe I'll include a like image of it. I love it. Um, like I said, it's exactly what I wanted, and I got what I wanted. However, there is this kind of cultural pressure around having a bigger stone or bigger diamond or whatever. And even though I got the perfect ring that I wanted, I found that I had to be careful not to fall for this like pressure of like feeling bad. Like, I think that it is incredible and insane how the pressures around you can make you feel bad for not having something that you didn't even want in the first place. So, I try to apply that same mindset to collecting. I think that it's definitely okay if there's something popular that you are genuinely interested in. For example, like if there's I know like a big one that gets talked about is like the number 4 um American Girl doll. If you want that doll because you think that she is like so like cute and like will just fits your collection and that's what you want, then absolutely awesome. But if you're just falling into it because like, oh, all these other well-known collectors have this doll and like she's worth a lot, so I just don't think it's worth it in that case. So, it's up to you to decide the metric of deciding whether something matters, but I definitely encourage um taking the time to stick to your own thoughts about what matters in your collection. Finally, for today, I have appreciate the collection that you have. I think that your joy for collecting can turn into an addiction to buying and opening things, which I've kind of touched on in some of the earlier points. I think for many collectors, especially those of us in the American Girl community, there's a draw to the connections and joy that we had when we were younger. But I think if you don't take the time to enjoy the collection that you have and the things that you already do have, you get caught chasing that feeling. And I guess as I was, writing this out and pondering on this, I think that um you should focus not on recreating the feeling that you had on like your birthday or Christmas or similar gift giving and receiving holidays. I think it's more beneficial to focus on recreating the fun and connection that you had doing things with your collection as a child. So that doesn't mean I think that you have to play with your toys in the same way that you may once have done, but I know a lot of people enjoy taking photos of their dolls. You can also, dress them up, arrange them in scenes, style their hair, etc. There's a lot of things that you can do with your doll, and there are videos out there about ways to like connect with your doll. I know AG Takes Over has a great video about that, and I will try to link it in the comments. Um, and she has a video that's really helpful about just a lot of ideas for things that you can do with your dolls. And I think that finding joy in things with your dolls that doesn't involve having to spend money or buy something new helps you make the most out of your collection. It brings you a lot of joy. And also, I think inevitably will lead to less overconsumption and more towards mindful consumption because you, if you are booked up with projects and activities that you're doing right now with the dolls that you already have and the things you already have, then you don't feel, I think, that then you don't need to fill up your space and time by getting new things. So yeah, appreciate the collection that you have right now. That is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I felt somewhat inspired to do this because I've been thinking about overconsumption lately, and also I know I mentioned this in one of the shorts that I uploaded, but I have been getting new outfits in the last month, partly because it was my birthday and such, but I felt that it seems like I was starting to post a lot of like unboxing content, and I actually have some other unboxing content which I think I've decided that I probably won't upload. It's because originally, when I started making the channel, I wanted to get some content onto my page, and so uh, I'm not necessarily proud to admit this, but at a certain point, I was like, oh, I need to milk like every like thing that I do. So I was like, oh, like everything I get, I need to like make a little unboxing video related. But it just gets old fast, and that's not what I enjoy about American Girl dolls. And so I just wanted to make this video, and I want to step back. I have a stop motion in the works that I'm going to be releasing. I so um It's kind of a tangent, but I just wanted to thank you so much for watching. And yes, please, in the comments, let me know what you think, what your own thoughts are. If you disagree with me in places, or let me know if you have additional suggestions. Um, so yes, and please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more of my videos. I try to make them thoughtfully, even though they are, I guess, even though there's different types and different things I enjoy doing, I try to make them all intentionally. And please have a beautiful day or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Thank you again so much for taking the time to watch, and consider my thoughts. Bye.